Hello everyone, and welcome to the Castaway Kitchen. I am really excited. Today I will be making my cauliflower gnocchi. This recipe is brand new to the blog, and it is so easy and so amazing, and only 4 ingredients. So you're going to need 1 head of cauliflower, about a medium-sized head like this. You're going to need some cassava flour. You're going to need 1 egg and some salt, and then just some water to boil the cauliflower in. So I'm going to start by cutting this head of cauliflower just into florets. I've got a pot of water on the stove that I'm gonna bring to a boil. Use the whole head, not just the florets. I don't know if I said florets earlier, sorry, just habit. But my pot's a little small, so I'm gonna make sure I cut it up like so. So just put the cauliflower in the pot and boil steam until it is fork tender. This usually takes about 15 minutes. Okay, so next step is you're gonna get your cauliflower that, we drained really well into your blender. You don't want any water in here. It's really hot, so careful. I have chef hands, so I'm used to touching hot things. And we're just gonna put it on the blender, and it should be moist enough and have enough water in it already that it will start going. And then we're gonna just crack the egg in here and blend it until it creates a thick puree. So it's gonna be really loud. We've got this really nice looking puree. It's really hot still. So then we're gonna transfer the puree to a bowl. And you can start adding the flour in now, but it's really hot. So I would just stir it and let it cool down for several minutes. Okay, so it's cooled off quite a bit. So I'm just gonna add in the first cup of cassava flour and just start mixing it in, kind of like if you were making cake, You're just gonna mix it in with your spatula, your wooden spoon, and you'll see that it's gonna start creating a dough. And as it cools down, it'll keep getting firmer. See where we're looking at right now. But remember, pasta needs to be a very formable dough. So I'm gonna add in that and keep mixing it. And this is where we're at right now. And so, you don't want it to be kind of sticky. It needs to be a nice pliable dough. So I'm just gonna add in a little more cassava flour, just a little bit at a time, giving it a few minutes between adding it. I feel it getting firmer as I'm stirring. It's getting there. And sometimes cassava needs a few minutes to really absorb and take hold. So I'm gonna stop there for a second and measure out some more. And then just a little bit at a time. You can do this a spoonful at a time is really the way to do it. Get a tablespoon and only add a tablespoon at a time until you get, see, we're getting there, the dough. Okay, so now we've got a dough ball, a legit dough ball. Obviously, you want to start with a good, clean workspace. And I'm going to dust this pretty heavily because, again, I'm working on my counter instead of a mat. But again, you want it to be, dusting it kind of just helps it not stick. So, making sure. And I'm gonna knead it just until I feel it's not really sticking to anything. Look at that beauty. I'm gonna make a rectangle. It's like Play-Doh. You remember playing with Play-Doh when you were a kid? That's exactly what this feels like. So Choo, choo, choo. And then I'm gonna cut 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 5 of these. I'm gonna set some to the side, right over here. I'm gonna show you how we roll these. So I'm gonna shape them with a fork. And this is how you make that traditional gnocchi shape, and it's easy peasy. So some people use the back of the fork. I like to use the front of the fork, and I will show you how I do it. So you put it on here, gently press down once you have a little divot, and then roll it up like that. So I'll do one closer. Oop. Press down. Roll it over. And you don't have to press very hard. The divots don't have to be like super crazy ridges. Okay, so when you're rolling this, and I'm gonna walk you through my third one at this point, you kind of want to go evenly. And if you need to break it up and do it in 2 pieces, that's fine too. You could keep it big and again do giant gnocchi, but as you see, this size tends to be pretty average. It's about like the tip of the thumb. And you want to keep them obviously the more even, like evenly sized, so they cook at the same time and the other ones don't overcook. When gnocchi is it's not like a perfect pretty pasta. Like these are little dumpling things. Like you could essentially make little balls. We do the fork thing to give them some shape. They're slightly bent little things. But they don't have to be perfect. These are all kind of like obscure. Like some of them are really ugly. It's not a big deal. When you boil them, they're all gonna just turn into little lumps anyway. Gnocchi, that's what it is. It's a dumpling-like pasta. It's not like ravioli or farfardelle or, you know, rotini that has this like complex shape. So with your hands close together, you kind of go in sections, moving evenly until you've got about a 1/4 inch thick snake situation with your dough. And then when you cut, you want to cut, again, kind of like that tip of your thumb. You don't want to make it too small. You don't want to make it too big. So, like that length, see? And then you're just going to make a bunch of those. And then that's what you roll on the fork. Gnocchi's so easy. Anyone can make it. And then something else I want to address is how dry you want your dough. You want it dry enough so it doesn't stick to the fork, right? But if you put too much flour with the dusting, they'll start cracking like some of these, which it's okay. When they cook, they'll be fine. But you see this one cracked, you can just pinch it back together. It's not a big deal, you know? But the dough has to be in that great spot between not being too sticky and not being too dry. Voila. So I'll do one really close up. So, you know, these aren't sticking, so I'm no longer dusting them. And I think as the dough sits out, it dries up a bit. So while you might have to dust your first few, once you get to your 3rd and 4th and, see, I pressed that one too much. 3rd and 4th and 5th, you don't have to dust it as much. And that's really the trick with working with dough. You know, don't be afraid to like massage it if you need to. And if it gets too dry and starts cracking, wet your hands to work with the dough. Just wet your hands and then massage the dough, and that'll bring the moisture back in. So let's finish shaping these gnocchi, and then we'll count them all, and I'll show you how many this recipe makes. Okay, all of the gnocchi is formed, and it makes about 100 pieces. So once you have all your gnocchi done, you can put your tray just like this in the freezer, and you can freeze this and then transfer them to Ziploc bags or a container and keep them frozen until they're ready to cook. So that works really well. And then when from frozen, you can cook them however you like. Again, with gnocchi, you can cook them two ways. You can boil them and then pan fry them, or you can just boil them, or you can just pan fry them. I really like the pan fry method because they get this crispy on the outside. They don't get as doughy. So I'm gonna show you how to do that now, just with a few of them. So I've got this cast iron skillet. So this is warm. I'm gonna add in some butter. You wanna make sure, again, you're working with a skillet that's not gonna be, that they're not gonna stick. So this is hot, and that's the thing with cast iron skillets. If you watched my cast iron care skillet, you wanna preheat your pan, then add the fat, okay? And then I'll swirl this around. And I've got this on medium heat. And I'm just gonna put in my little gnocchis, like this. So they're just browning here. They're getting nice and golden on one side. And then I will use tongs to flip them over. And at this point, I usually like to add in some shallots or some garlic. I'm gonna use this Greek spice seasoning blend and just throw it into the skillet so it gets nice and toasty in there with the melted butter. And let these brown for, 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna turn them over. If they're kind of getting golden, you can see the edges on the bottom. You're gonna turn them over with the tongs, like so. And then cook them another few minutes like that.